Sending out hundreds and hundreds of applications is going to be the new norm coming up. And so, first thing that we're going to talk about is this person over here that actually sent out how many applications he sent out? 493 applications, and is still looking for a job. And so now you're saying, like, why is that? Why does that matter? So one thing I need to say to you guys is that just because your CVS or your Walgreens is hiring in an area that's close to you doesn't mean that's the whole United States scenario, like the average, right? Just because you make good money and you have a decent job in your field doesn't mean that somebody else in the same field has the same good job or not, right? Or the same pay. So there's different pay gaps between different jobs. So you got to be cautious when you say, hey, in my area, CVS or Walgreens is hiring, because that is not the norm. But now Target is closing down locations in in Target itself. They had CVS locations that CVS is closing down, and they're closing down even more stores, right? So now you got to send out hundreds of applications. I know that that article that I sent you that I showed you beforehand is about remote work, but this is going to be common across the board because you just can't find jobs. And if they are there, if the jobs are shown, you're going to have problems because these jobs won't pay. And I think you'd be foolish to make this assumption that they're going to offer you the same amount of pay, because they're not. If they're smart as a business owner, what do? You use this opportunity to lowball these people, because somebody has to take that job. Because if you're going to be let go, there's only so much time that can go on till your bills stack up, credit cards can't pay, and all that other stuff. So you got to do the right thing and find another job. So getting a job is, not getting a job for most people is not an option, because you gotta, feed your family, pay your bills like any other American does, right? So you gotta be super, super cautious about, statements and, like, hey, my economy's great. Let me know the city and we will have a chat about it. So how do you stand out when you're in a situation where you send out 500 applications and almost no interviews? And when you type that into Google, what I did actually, then you can find subreddit articles of people actually talking about the troubles that they're having and that they're seeing in software development, in all kinds of fields. And now you might say, oh, it's just software, get a real job. Well, these other real jobs also don't pay. And when you're talking about, oh, we just want to, you got to get another, you got to get a blue collar job. You can't just switch and start off at a blue collar job with high pay. So when you were making in tech, like six figures, you can't just switch over to blue collar and starting to make six figures. It's going to take you time, seniority, and all that, and gain experience in that field, right? And by the time you're climbing the ladders, you're competing with people that are not from the US, that came here illegally, that are willing to work for almost no money. And how do I know that? Well, in Switzerland, I know, you watching this isn't in Switzerland, but in Switzerland, we had this problem that constantly companies got outbid us, that had really, really sketchy work history with people that came from other countries and constantly lowballed us. And then they were like, how can you offer such low prices when there's no profit margins in it? Because these people work for like no money. They don't have workman's comp, they don't pay insurance. And when you probably vet their books, there's almost like no money in it. They're almost like there's like no, they're not paying their people, right? And I read an article about Switzerland when I was here, and they said that this one poor dude that was working, illegally, didn't get paid for 3 months, and then they said, "Oh, we'll settle your outstanding dues, but we're gonna take half away." So they're gonna take half of your paid money that you made and actually say, hey, we're just going to give you less, right? And so you're competing with these people when you're in blue collar, because you can actually, without any certifications, if you're handy with tools, and you can kind of then get into the field and kind of figure it out and just say, hey, you know what? We're just gonna, I'm just gonna go across the United States, cross the border, and somebody will hire me. And if you kind of know what you're doing, I think that is the case. And I've seen it, and you just, you see it, but you don't say anything, if you're at a job site. I don't know how it is in the US. I'm just talking about Switzerland. You know it, but you don't really say something. So Switzerland has been doing these sting operations where they actually go and make sure that all these people are on payroll and they actually pay workman's comp and taxes, right? And so there was this picture where all these people kind of went out in the front, in the back. They exit out of the construction site through the back when the police showed up up front asking for documents. So there's always a way around it. And I feel like in tech, you're kind of more protected from that because you need to have a degree, like I know you can falsify a degree, but you kind of got more, what do I say? You're more, not special, you're more, it's something like you just have a little bit of more of a, you're more sheltered, I would say, because you can't just break into tech and be like, hey, because you need to have a social security numbers. And I know this for a fact, in the US, some people use fake social security numbers, right? You kind of figure it out and kind of get your own social security number, or you buy one and then you're kind of good to go. But breaking into tech like that is, you need a social security number, you need a degree and college. But yeah, it's not that easy as it sounds when you can just, take a tool belt and just work for $60 an hour cash under the table and just, do your job, get paid at the end of the week or every few days, and just, and once you're out, you're out. There's like seasonal workers. And before, like when I watched this documentary before I left, and they said that, like these cherry farmers and these people in that work the fields are mostly illegal immigrants, right? And there's now special visa programs for people that can actually come to the United States and work and do, farming, because there was a news station that went to an unemployment office and says, hey, we have a job for you. And they interviewed like 100 people, and like none of these people showed up. Like absolutely nobody showed up. And everybody was like, I can't work on a farm and pick cherries. I can't do that, or pick apples or whatnot. And I think one person got it, and he was like super slow. And that person that was doing it said, we can't use you anymore because you are at 25% of the speed that everybody else is. And they, are now having tours in Mexico that they actually offer special visas with low requirements so they can come into the United States and actually work. And I think that is a great idea. And that's why I think it's harder to break into tech, because you need more credentials. And for me as an immigrant, and I had to fill out all these immigration documents and all that, so I had to do it too. So I kind of know a little bit about that. And it is a long process, and it takes quite some time. And the bureaucracy is insane, right? And once, you file your applications to get your, your work authorization and all that, they process you at the wrong facilities too. That's what happened to me. So I lived in California, where I married Allison, and I still lived in Florida because I went to school in Florida, and they actually processed me in Florida, and they sent me a letter in Florida telling me that I need to show up in the office in Florida rather than in California when I lived. But I even filed the change of address and all that kind of stuff with U.S. immigration, but they just didn't do it. So you got to be aware of all that, and it's not that easy to do all that. That's why they hire lawyers and have you do all that. But back to the applications, when you submit it and you got the social and you got all that, it is harder to get into it because You need to have the network. You need to have all this stuff. You need to have the network. You need to have the LinkedIn. You need to be networking. You need to have the resume. You need to have the skills to pass these interviews, right? Because they have technical interviews now. And I know you can BS your way through it. And this is a very, very interesting thing, because I know people that actually have been in that actually do technical interviews for you, if it's for a remote position, or if it's, because most interviews aren't in person anymore. I don't know how about now, if they still do it or not, because, the work from home thing kind of changed and you got to go into the office. But if you're a remote worker, you can still kind of hire somebody to do a technical interview for you. And then you have some time to kind of figure it out. But they're now smarter too. They know that when you do a technical interview, that you're not the same person that that showed up to work afterwards, because they can tell really quick, like, hey, you're not that dude. So that did the interview because you had perfect computer skill or whatever job you've applied. And I know people have actually done that, and it's actually crazy, and it's fraud. And back to my other video I just posted that said, that 1 in 5 millennials, or 25%, lied on a resume. Seems about right. And I think if you apply for 5 jobs, I think you've lied on a resume. So pretty crazy. The application thing, like getting new jobs and doing all this kind of stuff is just insane, because you just gotta do it. You gotta send out hundreds of applications to even hear back. And in Reddit, these people in that, that are on Reddit and talking about their frustration, it's just out of this world. Job description are fakes. They're scam job listings, and there's, they waste your time. They don't get back to you. So it takes you now a long time to find something. And you need to have these networking. You need to have networking down so you can find something, but not in this economy. In this economy, you're not going to find anything. And yeah, CVS letting go 5,000 people, CVS, Walgreens, all that retailers. And check out this graph, how many stores they're closing. So all these stores that are closing people, they're going to compete for new jobs or other jobs, right? So when you're let go from, from Best Buy, and you need to work at Walmart or something, then you get a hell of a lot more applications, for that one job. And I read once that said during a recession, it's harder to get into a Walmart than it is in that actually is getting into Harvard. I'll see if I can find this this article, but there's somewhere I read that during a recession, it is almost impossible to get hired at Walmart. I don't know now, because right now they're not paying that well. So if I have something, I'll find it right here. And now I'm going to end the video. So this is day 2 of Switzerland. I'm going to go to Zug, Lake Zug, and we're going to see how that is. And I'll put some pictures and some videos up. I appreciate you guys. Let me know what else. And if you want to send me an article or something, I'm always up for that. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. I appreciate it. And let's go into my day 2 of traveling.
Okay, so today we're at Zug, and this is a really beautiful town. This is like the harbor, and it is a freshwater lake for you guys that don't know. And I wanted to show you guys how cool it actually is. Unfortunately, it was raining the whole day, and this is kind of why I left Switzerland to go to Las Vegas, because in Las Vegas it has so many rainy days, and I haven't had rainfall like this in over a year. And this is the harbor. Like I said, it has cute little cafes all around. It has beautiful scenery with all these boats. People are normally on the boat fishing, doing water skis, doing all these activities. We just had a cafe over there at that little harbor place. It was super cute. And now we're going to go see what all these people are doing, and seeing that they're actually fishing. And yes, you can actually fish at these places, and it is really cool. So in Switzerland, there's a bunch of public places where you can actually go to that in the United States are prohibited. So this is one of these things where you can actually just go and see and look at, and yeah, these people are fishing, I have no idea what they're fishing for, so let's speed this up a little bit to just, just to kind of move the video along. But yeah, it is just gorgeous when you look at it. And we get the flags, and the whole lake just looks really, really gorgeous. And like I said, fresh water, everything just really, really sweet. So now let's see what other clips I got. Yes, so this is a little bit more foggier. This is from another viewpoint. Just not that great of a weather. I'm gonna go back and try to get some better shots of it, but it's just not that beautiful. So yeah, let's go back home. So this is my brother. He actually stole the camera of me, and this is in my apartment, and he's just trying to mess with it. He's not tech savvy at all, so he's just trying to mess with it, seeing how the camera works. And when you mess with my stuff, the rule is your camera. So this is Mark. He's gonna be in another few videos of mine just because he's trying to be goofball. And yeah, that's him checking out his nostril, and it's crooked. So